Zoomania is the name of this all-animal city, and it's a city where animals evolved, they walk up on two, they wear clothes, and humans never existed. When the director Byron Howard was kind of developing this idea, he fell in love with the early Disney talking animal films, and he really wanted to do another one. And we hadn't done one in so many years, and so this idea kind of launched this world of Zoomania and all of these animals. Byron Howard, who was the director, he loved Robin Hood when he was a kid. And so he always wanted to tell a talking animal film. He was developing different ideas, and he thought about this idea of what if humans had never existed but animals evolved, and they all lived in the city. And what really drew everyone to it was starting to think about what would that city be like. If humans didn't design the city but animals did, how would they design it? How would there be a door tall enough for a giraffe and small enough for a mouse? What would the escalators look like in the city? How would the transportation system work? What would the shapes of the windows be? It just became this kind of fantastic exploration of what could this world actually be if animals designed it for themselves. So there were two things we really thought about. One was we wanted to make sure that we weren't making an animal film where it was humans in animal suits. You can do that in an animal world. It can be done. It has been done. We didn't want to do that. And John said, you have to make an animal movie like no one has ever seen before. So therefore, what it said to us was a story had to be a story that needed to be told by animals. That's when this idea of predator and prey coexisting in one city felt like, okay, that's a great idea. Two groups that normally could never coexist have figured out how to harmoniously live together, but then through the story we discover they still have a deep assumption about the other. And to us, that felt like that was the only way you could tell this was through animals, because predator and prey, but the theme of the film still is something that we as humans can understand and it can resonate with us, this idea that we can make assumptions about each other. But when John also said the world needs to feel believable, we said to ourselves, well, then the animals have to be cast in a way that makes sense. So we did all of this research, 18 months studying animals, and over the course with this incredible animal expert named William Carr Hartley, we learned about animal personality. And in so doing, it helped inform which animal needed to be which character. So a Cape buffalo is one of the strongest and meanest animals on the savannah. So we said that should be the chief of police, a really strong individual. We thought, well, the king of the jungle, that'll be the mayor. We thought to ourselves, well, what about the gnus, these wildebeest, these characters we see, these animals we see all over the savannah? Well, originally we thought they would be like business people. They'd be in suits with ties, and they would be the business people of the city of Zoomania. But when we went to Africa, we discovered the gnus, the wildebeest, they're actually the dumbest animal on the savannah. They're not smart. So we had to completely change who those characters were in the film. We really wanted not to just assign an animal to a character, but make sure that the character and the animal aligned together in a great way. So we have 550 artists and technology, people who've worked on this movie. And what happens is we start very small, just a couple people. It's a director, the writer, maybe a couple of visual development artists, so maybe 4 to 5 people for potentially about a year where the idea is being built. And then we start growing the team, and we bring on more visual development artists, we bring on a story team, and we bring on our editorial team. And then we get into the deep parts of production where we really get to the 550 people, where we have animators and lighters and our camera people, the layout artists, our tech anim team that are going in to do cleanup on clothing. I mean, there's so many different complex parts of making these movies. So it takes 550 ultimately to make the whole film. We always at Disney try to make films for people of all ages. It's a really important thing. You need to tell a great story, but it needs to have layers to it. It needs to have comedy that will play at both levels. It needs to have emotion that it plays at both levels. It needs to have characters that all levels can kind of really relate to. And I think what I love about this movie, Zoomania, is I think we have all of that. We have stuff for the teenagers and for the adults and for the kids. And I think there are scenes in the movie, some that we've shared today, where you realize in this scene, people who know movies are going to completely understand this scene in one way and realize what type of inspiration we've taken, but kids are still going to understand the scene. They're not going to get lost in it. They're still going to know there's a crime boss and that the stakes are high and these characters are in danger. And that's kind of the fun of it. So we really tried to make sure we were making it for audiences of all ages. And it really starts ultimately with telling a great story with great comedy and deep emotion. It was amazing to work with Shakira and really has been a phenomenal part of this film. We met with her 2 years ago in Los Angeles. She was in LA, and we pitched the movie to her, and she fell in love with it. She loved the idea of this pop star character who also had a very important social message, because that's who she is. She is an incredible superstar who also is very deeply rooted in things and issues around the world. She has her own foundation. So she felt like she was completely the right person for this role. And then we started talking about her character and what would this character be in the movie, because she's not just someone who has a song in the film, she's actually the character of Gazelle. She's this pop star. And we really started building a story around who she is in the real world and translating that into who she can be as this character Gazelle in the film itself. And that became a really fun collaboration. It's always great when the artist who comes in to voice the character has an opinion too and starts to help shape it, because then they bring themselves into it. And when an audience sees it up on the screen, they'll see it as an animated character, but they'll also see Shakira in that character of Gazelle. When we were thinking about the story, we really came up early on with this idea of predator and prey. Two groups that in the natural world, do not get along, but in our movie have found a harmonious way to live in a city together. But what we discover in the film is while on the surface it seems like everything's good, underneath both groups still assume something about the other. And that to us felt like that was a great theme, a great message for the film. This idea that you can assume something about somebody else, but that's not fair, because until you've met them, you don't know who they actually are. So in this case, the fox is assumed to be a sly fox, and the bunny is assumed to be a dumb bunny. These two characters are immediately at odds with each other. She believes anyone can be anything. He believes we are who we are. And over the course of the movie, these two have to solve this mystery. And in so doing, discover that they were both wrong about who they thought the other was. And I think in today's world, that's a really great theme. It's a great message. It's a great idea to have as part of a movie, because we live in a place where there can be assumptions about things, and it's not the right thing to do. The right thing to do is to get to know somebody first and then understand who they are. I love The Lion King because I thought it was very bold in that film early on to have Mufasa be killed. And what I loved about it was the idea that it gave this storytelling of this idea of death. And it gave an opportunity for parents to actually talk to kids about this concept. When the movie came out, people wrote about that was a very hard thing to do, and kids were going to go watch this movie, and wouldn't that be hard for kids? But actually it became a great moment for people to be able to talk about something. And that movie inspired me to want to be a part of this film, Zoomania, because I feel the same way. There's a message in the film that can open a conversation for parents and kids. And I think that is an amazing thing if you can tell a great story, have people come and be entertained, but also give them a reason to want to talk after the movie. That's pretty darn incredible. Then I have to say honestly that I am a huge fan of the film Frozen. And I am because for me, it was a return. I started at Disney Animation in the years of Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin and The Lion King. And for me, what I loved about that film was as I looked at it, I saw a studio that was just doing incredible work. We built ourselves from Tangled and Wreck-It Ralph, and we get ourselves to a film like Frozen, and you watch the incredible filmmaking that's going on, and yet we're returning to those roots of a great musical. And the audience is falling in love with it. And Tangled was the first step in that process, but Frozen was really the next huge piece of that in terms of getting the world to see Disney again in terms of making those great animated musicals. So I love musicals, so I love that film also.